San Diego. My name's Reeny Thomas.
And I'm Rahel Hintza. And you're watching Get Real with Rahel and Reeny.
We've brought in some really interesting guests today. George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart, the authors of You Can't Take It With You, the comedic play.
And for now, we're going to go to a short commercial break, but we'll be right back with you. Actually, we just found out our sponsors have pulled out their money, so we're going to go straight out to Reeny.
Hi everyone, we have Moss Hart and George S. Kaufman here with us today to talk about their play, You Can't Take It With You. Start with you. Tell us about your life story.
I was born in 1889 to Jewish-German immigrant parents in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. After high school, I went to law school for a little while, and then I dropped out and started doing some odd jobs.
Why did you drop out of law school?
Well, I grew tired of the seriousness of law school, and I wanted to express my sense of humor, which I could do through writing, so I really got into writing.
What about you, Mr. Hart?
Well, I was born in New York in 1904 to Jewish immigrant parents. I was always interested in theater, and then in my high school years, I became involved in writing.
What was your first big hit with writing plays?
My first big hit was Once in a Lifetime, which I collaborated with George on.
How much did you guys collaborate after that?
Well, we worked together for 10 years, over the course of which we did 7 big plays together.
Yeah, our biggest play was You Can't Take It With You, which won a Pulitzer Prize, and one of our other big plays was The Man Who Came to Dinner.
So, if it worked out so well, why did you guys stop collaborating?
Well, we just mutually decided that after 7 plays and 10 years together, that it was both time for us to go our separate ways.
We did make a good team, though, didn't we?
We sure did.
Thank you very much.
Nice reporting, Reeny.
Now we're going to have to go to a field report with you.
We're going to get real with the critics about what they have to say about the play. We're here with Misha Benson from Seattle Times and Brooks Atkinson from New York Times to discuss the play, You Can't Take It With You. So guys, I just want you to know that you can get real here, and that's why we call the show Getting Real with Rahel and Reeny. First question is, for Misha, what do you think of the characters? Do you think they're mad as in crazy?
I wouldn't say they're crazy. I just think that they have some treacherous hobbies. But in my professional opinion, I would say that they don't need any psychiatric care.
Good one, Misha. Next question would be whether you think the comedy should be described as a comedy or a serious play.
I would say it should be characterized as both. It definitely has some comedic elements, but it definitely also has some serious undertones. A lot of the characters represent the American dream and the American success story.
Very good. Okay, next question for Brooks. What do you think a major theme within the play is?
I think the contrast between the orderly life of the Kirby's and the chaotic life of the Sycamores really portrays a juxtaposition in the different family dynamics of the time. The Kirby's American dream that was previously mentioned, as well as the chaotic, free life that represents kind of the whims of the people.
Very nice. Last question is going to be, what do you think is funny about the play?
I think the writing of Kaufman and Hart is quite funny because they have a knack for extravagance in both their word and in episode, and an eye for humorous incongruities. It really adds to the overall appearance and aesthetic pleasure of the play.
That's all for today, San Diego. And we're back, guys. We just finished an interesting discussion with some of the best critics in town.
And now we're going to go to a discussion panel discussing many themes, motifs, images, and symbols in the play.
The Sycamore's acceptance for each other. They don't care what the other does or what the other person is. They just accept who they are without hesitation.
I think it's kind of ironic that Alice doesn't accept her family and Tony does. Because like in the two couples, she should be the one who accepts her own family. Honestly, it kind of should be reversed, where Tony's the one who's afraid of them more than Alice is.
You would think Alice would be the most accepting, especially because her family is so accepting.
Alice isn't like pressured to not accept her family. She isn't. It's actually she's pressured to accept her family by Tony, and she should feel that she should accept her family, and she doesn't because.
So it's almost like Tony's more of a part of the Sycamore family, and Alice is more of the
Kirby
family.
Yeah. She's like ashamed of her family and what they are, and she when she's trying to set up a party for Tony's family, Grandpa says they won't even. This isn't even the family at all. This isn't who we are, and so she tries to hide who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what other themes do we have?
There's also the theme of happiness. The grandpa, he quit his day job. He was working 9 to 5, and he had the possibility of making a lot of money, but he just realized one day he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with the way his life was, and so he changed it. Now he goes to the zoo and commencement ceremonies. And also happiness is when he tells Mr. Kirby, like, why are you doing this job? And he says, it's my business. And he's like, but business is what you should enjoy. And it's not something he enjoyed. It's because he thought he had to. And so it's all about, the Sycamores are all about what makes them happy, and the Kirbys are what society thinks that they should do.
I think that goes into another discussion of the motifs. If you look at the two families and you contrast them, first of all, you can see the Sycamore family as a very chaotic, disorderly family, and the Kirby family comes off as very orderly. They do everything the way it should be, and nothing's out of order. And another contrast could be rich versus poor. Kirby is the rich, the wealthy, the one with a high status family, whereas Sycamore, they're not that rich, and they don't have that much high status. Yet, if you look at, again, the happiness thing, the Sycamore family, those people seem much more happier than the Kirby family. Then another motif that you can see from the contrast of families is conformity versus non-conformity. None of the individuals in the Sycamore family conform to any social ideal at all. Whereas in the Kirby family, you see pretty much everyone conforming to an ideal. The mom, the dad, the son. Tony is considered like the heir to the business. The father is this successful business owner. And so it's that kind of idea of standing out versus trying to go with the crowd.
And when you start comparing the two themes, or the two families, you really start seeing the characterization of each family. Because the Sycamore family is really characterized as, on first glance, kind of crazy, but really they each have their own little part of them that's not so crazy. Like Essie and Ed, they kind of portray the perfect American family, except reversed, where the woman has her own job, her own business, making the candy in Essie's case, and then Ed is supporting her by his printing and distributing the candy for her. And then Penny and Paul, they are crazy, actually, but they also do their own thing, and where they're completely breaking all of the usual accepted norms and completely going against the flow of what should be happening in American ideas. Then Alice and Tony, they can be seen as the Romeo and Juliet, because really it is a Romeo and Juliet kind of story, where it's a forbidden love between the crazy family and the quote-unquote normal family. But you see Alice trying to get away from her family while trying to stay connected to them, which is kind of what sets Alice apart, I think.
And I also think it's really interesting with like the way that each person in that family is like non-conformist. They're all individuals in their own way, but still with like they fit within a group. So they're individuals within a group, and it works, and they're cohesive within their like dissenting ways. So, and that kind of reminds me of like what life is really about, and like the significance of like the love dreams. The name for the candy is also relevant, because love is what like keeps them together, and that's like what the relationships that are formed are what kind of reveal all of these themes. And then the dreams are kind of like what keeps them going, and like that's the difference between all of them. It's like for the Kirby family, the dreams are for like financial success and material things, but for the Sycamore family, their dreams are completely different. They're not material things, and they're more based on like the bone marrow of life. They're more on like the things that you can't purchase. They're the interactions. It's the love. And another symbol would have to be, I think is really prevalent, is Mr. Kolenkov, because he is the only foreigner, and he kind of represents in like the pre-World War I setting of this play. It's really important because there's this prevalent like foreign threat from Russia, and Mr. Henderson, who represents the government, the U.S. government, passes by Mr. Kolenkov in the hall, and the way that it was described is it was like Mr. Henderson didn't understand what kind of a threat was passing by him. So it's really interesting because that kind of represents the way the U.S. wasn't really aware of what kind of a threat Russia could be until World War II.
What did you mention a second ago?
Oh, it also brings up another theme, this like anti-government theme with Mr. Henderson and the way he's completely rejected by Grandpa to pay his income tax. It's like there's no room for him, he's rejected, and the way that they deliver these anti-government like themes is in a very humorous way, which is kind of speaks to a major theme running throughout the play. It's delivering serious messages in a funny way. That also goes with what Essie's husband, Ed's, he prints in her candy boxes, God is the nation is God. So that can kind of be seen as unpatriotic, and ironically, downstairs, Paul is making fireworks, which are the most patriotic symbols.
Patriotism.
Exactly.
You also said, okay, the bone marrow of life. We haven't covered what each family gets out of life, where the Sycamore family really sees that life is being happy and being what you see as happy, whereas the Kirby family sees happiness as doing what you're supposed to do, which I think is more of the American idea at the time, where I think the Sycamores are more of the new America. They're what America is kind of transitioning to and doing their own thing.
I feel like the Sycamore is kind of like the idealized American, that idea of the American dream and pursuing what you want, kind of individual, kind of like that idea of a rugged individualism. Whereas Sycamore is kind of what, even though you have that prevalent idea of an idealized American dream within American society, most families find themselves falling into this kind of model family that's based upon a material success, which is...
Yeah, and also, if you look at the name of the title, it's You Can't Take It With You, and in it, Grandpa states that to Mr. Kirby, like, you can't take it with you. None of this money really matters in the long run because you're not going to take it to heaven with you. So you should enjoy the now, and that's a big theme. It's living for the now, which the Sycamores do. They do everything the way they want, and they don't really plan. But then the Kirbys, like Mr. Kirby, he does orchids. I don't really think that makes him that happy to cut orchids. So I think it's just living for the now and happiness.
I think that.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That kind of like, it reminds me of the Bible in that they start discussing keeping separate what happens on earth and what happens in heaven, because what we do on earth isn't going to follow us into heaven. So I guess, I don't know, maybe it kind of has a Catholic undertone in that it's talking more about doing the things that aren't necessarily worth material value, but are more sentimental value, things that you'll be happy with, things that'll make you happy when you don't have all the material.
It's kind of happiness in a different way, too, because when you think of happiness from a material source, it's like fleeting. So you're happy that you have it right now, and then sooner or later you're going to get tired of it, and then you feel emptiness again. So it's not very fulfilling. But when you have a different kind of happiness, it fills a different kind of need. And when you have the happiness that you get from like doing what you love in life and like being with who you love, it's something that you can always remember and hold on to. It's not so temporary.
Thanks for watching. We really appreciate your viewership.
My name's Reeny Thomas.
And I'm Rahel Hintza.
And live from San Diego,
It's Saturday Night Live! Just kidding. Let's get real.
it's Get Real with
With
Rahel and
Reeny.
Reeny.
Good night.
And Godspeed!